Alright, so y'all see the title of the video, man. It's probably gonna be a longer live, but I think this just needs to be said and dealt with. So I'm pretty much tired of, you know, LeBron's career being reduced to 2011. So today we're gonna address 2011, and I'm gonna have a few more live streams up today. So, in that finals, LeBron is accused of choking, quitting on his team, not been aggressive enough. People talk about him standing out on the 3-point line and not why he was standing out on the 3-point line. All kind of things. So we're just gonna address some of these things today. My throat kind of clogged. God damn. But yeah, today we're gonna address what actually happened, right? So, I mean, I don't know if these things are gonna be hard to see on the screen, but I'm gonna read them off, and we're gonna go from there. Okay. So, this is an article from when he was playing in the finals. It says James has to be so tired, so very tired. James is being asked to log more playoff minutes than anyone ever. He didn't sit at all in the second half again, so add the physical drain to the mental alone, that has to be crushing. So this is just starting off. Yeah, I can see that on the screen. I'm gonna leave it on for the screen for a few seconds. We're gonna go to the next slide. James is playing longer minutes than anyone on either team. He's averaging 44 minutes a game during the finals, making fatigue a possible factor despite Spoelstra's insistence on his high motor. June 9th, 2011. Okay, let me go down. Part of James' disappearance is because Dwayne Wade has been unstoppable, averaging 29.8 points and shooting a sublime 58.8 for a guard. But the other part is what exactly? The Mavericks lane clogging zone defense? Maybe. Massive fatigue for a player averaging a ridiculous 44 minutes in the playoffs? Possibly. Now, I got some data to look at and all kind of things, but we're going to go to another tab. Okay, it might be hard to see that, but it says, okay, this is the first time since 1948. This is on New York Times. This is the first time since 1948 that 3 straight finals games have been decided by 3 points or fewer, with the margins tight and with the championship reduced to a best-of-3 series. Miami needs all of James all the time. That, too, is a concern. James has played 45 minutes or more in 3 of the 4 games and has been playing second halves without rest. Second halves without rest. That's a key here. Just remember that sentence. Second half. He's been playing second halves without rest. Fatigue may be a factor. Still, it is startling to see James, who dominated fourth quarters and playoff victories over Boston and Chicago, lose his assertiveness. James had a hard time explaining where his aggressiveness went. But let's reread that. James has played 45 minutes or more in 3 of the 4 games and has been playing second halves without rest. Okay, that's on the New York Times. So we're going to go to another part, another article. Okay, hold on one second. I don't know if y'all could read that, but I'm going to just read it if y'all can't. In a normal contest, LeBron dunks over opponents the size of Paul Pierce with ease. On this night, he's holding the ball for several unproductive seconds, burning clock, failing to conjure plans, firing bailout passes to the far corners. A man who averaged almost 30 points in the season makes only 3 shots all night. Almost every jumper is short. LeBron's performance, the Celtics cruise to a 120-88 win, will be bizarre enough to launch media consuming conspiracy theories about undisclosed injuries and off-court distractions of all kinds. Perhaps you've heard a few. But what if there was a simpler explanation? What if James was just exhausted? In the years since, it was becoming clear to scientists and many coaches that general lameness is a likely result of overwork. Consider that on that day in 2010, James was wrapping up 7 seasons in which he played 25,197 total minutes. It's been nearly 20 years since any other player has done the same. By the 2015 playoffs, one of the high priests of biometric science, athletics lab Michael Young, would declare James' workload unfathomable, perhaps greater than any other athlete in any other sport. This preseason, Cavs coach Tyronn Lue talked about managing James' minutes as LeBron's coaches long have. The team even bragged about a cutting-edge system that sorts players into red, yellow, and green categories of fatigue. But the Cavs struggled and failed to win the East, and James ultimately led the NBA minutes per game. This was in 2010. Now more than ever, the Cavs need James to walk on water because by every rational analysis, the team is toast. 15 of his last 26 regular season games and having entered its first round series with only a 3.7% chance of taking the title. According to Basketball Power Index playoff odds, so the question of the playoffs becomes, is James too fried to be his best when it matters most? Will the title hang in the balance? I sought the answer. I'm going to try to make this short and get to the point. Dr. Michael Jordan leads a Mayo Clinic lab that studies how humans respond to various forms of physical and mental stress during activities such as exercise. He has worked with everyone from elite marathoners to NASA and the Department of Defense. He is, in many respects, the perfect person for the question I posed to experts in a Slack group chat. Is LeBron fried merely by attempting to play 90-plus games a year? LeBron has played more than 8,500 playoff minutes, roughly the amount of 3 regular seasons for a full-time starter. Soon after I posted Jordan emails, which is the guy that has all those credentials, this is complicated, he writes, offering that there are 5 factors of fatigue: travel, sleep, recovery, number 1, minor injuries, season duration, number of hard efforts in a 2-week window, and mental grind. When we connect by phone, Jordan announced he's live from Portland, Oregon. Okay, I'm just going to skip past all that. Artificial intelligence for schedule makers would be good. 3 games a week, extend season a week or two, eliminate preseason. If I were Adam Silver, I'd make 2 or 3 miles with different comparisons of how recent years could have gone. Get some really smart nerds on it. No more back-to-backs, no more 4 and 5 hard workouts in a season. A lot of moving parts, depends on the person. But if you have 3 or 4 days off, maybe. The gist, Jordan says, is this. One of LeBron's biggest challenges is that he asks his body to do truly hard work, all-out effort, sustain high heart rate, ending in sweaty exhaustion, more times than most elite athletes can handle. Okay. I'm going to skip past that because this is going to get to 2011. Okay. Brian Windhorst has been covering James since high school. Who better to ask about how LeBron approach to injury prevention has changed? When LeBron was a springy 18-year-old, he didn't even tape his ankles regularly, he says. But now he invests in hundreds of thousands per year on his body. Windhorst reveals this fun tidbit. James has his own system of liquid nitrogen tanks to apply supercool cryotherapy to inflamed joints in a black Mercedes Sprinter van with custom white leather lounger seats, in part to allow him to receive treatments on the go. on Slack, Brian writes that the days of acting invincible are over. And this is the point. And it's a nearly annual event for him to come into training camp with the goal of reducing his minutes. And sure enough, after he looked exhausted in the 2011 finals and the Heat lost to the Mavs, his minutes per game declined from 38.8 in 2011 to 35.6 in 2016. I remember that sentence I read about him not getting rest in the second half because that's going to come into play. That trend has reversed this season. He's on pace to play the most minutes since 2013-14. Okay. I don't even need to get into all that, but it's nearly, let's just reread that. And sure enough, after he looked exhausted in the 2011 finals and the Heat lost to the Mavs, his minutes per game declined from 38.8 in 2011 to 35.6 in 2016. Like I said, remember what I said about him playing or not getting rest in the second half, because that matters. But we're gonna I'm gonna try to get to the point that I'm not gonna keep wasting time. Okay. All right, I gotta pull up this data real quick. All right, if it'll go up. Okay. Now, what y'all see here is just a few things. All right. So, hold on 1 second. All right, my bad. Okay, so I want to read a few things off before I even. What you see, LeBron didn't get rest in 14 of his 23 playoff games. I don't know if y'all can see that in the second half. So over half the playoff games he played in 2011, he didn't get rest in the second half, which is the most. And I think if I could find it. Oh yeah, it's the most since over the 27 years that the data exists. So it didn't exist beforehand, but it's the most that a player's ever played in the years that the data exists. So 14 games without rest in the second half. You obviously see his name is at the top of that list. And now there's a reason he was playing those many minutes. A lot of people want to talk about super team this and super team that, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. But the reason he was playing those minutes is because they didn't have roster depth. So he had to play those minutes to make up for what the rest of the team lacked as far as their depth. Which is why in 2012, they brought in a few extra guys. They changed their game plan. They changed a lot. And LeBron talked about that on Mind the Game. But the point is, he was playing them heavy minutes because of, the lack of roster depth. But, just don't just take my word for it. I'm gonna go a little deeper. I'm just gonna go a little deeper. All right. So he played 23 playoff games in 2011. He didn't get rest in the second half, and more than half of them. So 14 of 23 playoff games. Obviously, the 14 is right there. You can see it. And people might argue he played heavy minutes plenty of times, but it was different. So over half the games he played in this playoffs, he didn't get rest in the second half. That's the same amount of times he played the entire second half without rest from 2015 to 2018. In other words, in 2011, he played 14 games without rest in the second half. From 2015 to 2018, which is 3 years worth of playoff games, he played 14 games without rest in the second half. He did 3 years worth of games without rest in one playoff run. And after 2011, he never played that many games or minutes without rest ever again. And I just showed that, his minutes declined after that. But, okay, get into the point. He played 7 45-minute games in his last 10 playoff games. The entire second half in 14 of 23 playoff games. In his last 15 games, he missed a total. Now, this is his last 15 games. He missed a total of 6 second half minutes. This is while playing the entire second half in over half of those games and playing 7 45 minutes games. He missed a total of 6 second half minutes in his last 15 games. Jordan played a total of 17 45-minute games. LeBron played 7 in 22 days and played 3 in a row. Right? The first time Jordan played back-to-back 45 minutes games, he didn't have a single field goal in the last 22 minutes. This was versus the Knicks in Game 6. Okay, so if you could read this, Michael Jordan actually appeared more or at least a little winded for one of the few times in his brilliant career. True, he did finish with 25 points, but his airness failed to record a field goal in the final 22 minutes. And okay, so let me go back to that. The first time Jordan played back-to-back 45-minute games, he didn't have a single field goal in the last 22 minutes. LeBron played 7 in 22 days and played 3 in a row. He played 7 45-minute games in his last 10 playoff games, the entire second half, in 14 of 23 playoff games. In his last 15 games, he missed a total of 6 second half minutes. LeBron's 14 games without rest is the most over the 27 years the data exists. Okay, now look at this. This is the most 45-minute games in 1 year since 1984. You got Shaq, you got Gary Payton, you got Iverson, you got Dan Marley, and you got LeBron James in 2011. So these are the number of times they played those games, and then the number of times they didn't get rest. So in the second half. So for Gary Payton, he got rest in the second half. For Iverson, he played all the way through in 3 games without rest. For Dan Marley, he got rest. For Shaq, he's the only player on this list to get no rest in the second half and still get a win. But the difference between a center and a forward or a wing is that the wings or the forwards are going to cover distance on the court. Centers aren't required to run up and down and cover the distance that, forwards are. But either way, shout out to Shaq. But, okay, he's the only one on this list that actually got a win, that actually won in the finals while playing these kind of minutes. But Yeah, these are the only guys that have played 7 or more 45-minute games in the same year, right? Four of them played 45 or more minute games, but the second half is the difference. Shaq played the second half without rest 4 times. Iverson did it 3 times. LeBron did it 8 times. If a player is not getting proper rest, where would that player wear down? Probably the fourth quarter. Two guys on this list were guarding Jordan in the finals. So is it harder to be guarded by the guy playing excessive minutes, or is it hard to be the guy that actually has to play those minutes due to lack of roster depth? And if you actually look at it, this is from the 96 finals, which is when Gary Payton was playing those kind of minutes. He said, if you see the highlight, I'm playing too many minutes right now. So exerting all the energy of having to stay with Jordan wouldn't be good for me. He said it was too many minutes, but he was getting rest. LeBron wasn't getting any rest in the second half. Okay. Marley was pretty much taken off of, Jordan because of those minutes that he was playing. Armstrong said another factor in the loss was the decisions of the Suns coach Paul Westphal to guard the 6'6 Jordan with 6'1 Johnson instead of 6'6 Dan Marley, which was because Dan Marley was playing those heavy minutes. That's why he was taken off of him. But let's go back. So once again, this is the list, the only list of guys who play 7 or more 45-minute games in the same year. Shaq played the second half without rest 4 times. Iverson did it 3 times. LeBron did it 8 times. Okay. Anyways, let's keep going. Marley, I already covered Dan Marley, who once again he didn't play any without rest. He played those games, but he got rest in the second half. Gary Payton too. And Iverson and Shaq. Um, Shaq was the only one with a win, and Iverson. Let's go to what he said about those minutes. The Sixers star wouldn't admit he was gassed, but he did imply his body was as black and blue as the road uniforms his team might not get to wear again this season. It's been a long, tough year. Okay. I got enough in my gas tank to keep on driving, but I don't know when it's going to run out. Now he played 3 of those games without rest. Shaq did 4. LeBron did it 8 times. Okay. If you look at this, it shows that LeBron was consistently playing more playoff minutes, 45-minute games with or without rest, more so than Jordan was. But my bad. LeBron had 4 minutes of rest in the second half in the finals. Jordan had 27 minutes of rest in 1998. So, now if you look, give me 1 second. I need to look at this real quick. My bad, I'm looking at something. Yeah, okay. Now you look at this right quick. What this does, okay, in the 1998 finals, Jordan averaged 41 minutes per game in the finals. But he only had two 45-minute games in the entire playoffs. LeBron did that 8 times, or something to that extent. I gotta go back and look, but he got 27 minutes of rest in the second half in the finals. LeBron got 4 minutes of rest in the second half in the finals. Okay, that's what this graph explains. Okay, if you look at this next graph, this shows that in every series, LeBron was playing the most minutes in every series. So Wade and Bosh weren't playing more minutes than LeBron. LeBron was playing these minutes without rest because of the lack of Miami's depth. They had no depth. Now, if you look here, this is pretty funny. I don't know if y'all could see this, but this is Skip Bayless, and he always criticizes LeBron. What does this say? This will be remembered as the night Michael Jordan was mortal. This was his night, his game, his fourth quarter, and Michael Jordan got tired. I thought elite athletes don't get tired. Number 23 tried, and number 23 failed. With the world waiting to watch him puff his victory cigar, he and his Bulls got smoked by Karl Malone. He and his man, Scottie Pippen, were colder than the champagne, chilling all over Chicago. These two went from battling for finals MVP to vying for least valuable. Shot for missed shot. When the matter of these two failed to feed the one bull as hot as Utah's Malone, Tony Kukoc. But as Utah's Malone, but you really couldn't blame them. This was Michael time, and Michael shot 9 for 26 in what could have been his last home game. Now think about that. 9 for 26. That's, when he's playing these same kind of minutes, Jordan ain't performing so hot, right? But I think the point that I'm trying to make is, people, I'm not going to say overblow 2011, but they make that as though his career ended in 2011. Like, that's it. He didn't have nothing else after 2011, and that's it. He played from 2003 to 2011, and he never won anything after that, and he never did anything after that. There's context to why he played so bad in 2011, or why he wasn't as aggressive. I'm gonna, if you're not taking my word or taking the data for it, I'm gonna show something else. But we can keep going for a little bit. And if you look at this number of playoff games by year with no rest in the second half, you see that there's a major difference. No rest in the second half. 2011 tops that list by far. But even if it's not just this rest it's not just playing those minutes without second rest in the second half. He was playing 45-minute games. So he was playing the full game and not getting rest in the second half. So what do you think is going to happen when someone has to play that many minutes? They say, okay, when you get fatigued physically, mentally, it affects you. You need, to get a breather, you need some time. But if you play, hold on, if I could find that. If you play in the finals, you get 4 minutes of rest in the second half, and the other guy gets 27 minutes of rest in the finals. Who got more rest? And when you just look at it, hold on, I'm trying to find all the stuff that I wrote down. Oh yeah, in his last 15 games, he missed a total of 6 second half minutes. Think about how insane that is. He missed 6 second half minutes in his last 15 games. He missed 4 minutes in the finals. This is what happened. He played 14 of 23 games without rest in the second half. 14 of 23, which is over half. And that's the same amount of playoff games without rest that he played from 2015 to 2018. So from 2015 to 2018, he played 14 games without rest. But in 2011, he played 14 games without rest. So he did all that in one playoff run. That's 3 years worth of playoff runs. And people want to talk about he didn't show up. Yeah, he didn't, but there's a reason he didn't. It's not because what they say the stage was too big or, he was choking. He didn't show up. But oftentimes there's a lot more to basketball and sports and athletes than what we know and what we see with our eyes on the court. And we don't know the game more than what a coach would or more than what, players would. And talk about, fatigue and these different things that affect athletes. So if a guy isn't getting rest, he's playing 14 games without rest, over half of his games without rest in the playoffs. And that's the same amount he had for 3 years worth of playoff runs. He played and playing 8 of his last 10 without rest in the second half. I mean, he was playing insane minutes. That's the point. He was playing insane minutes. In his last 15 games, he had 6 minutes of rest. 6. Now, this is just showing the data, right? This is for the people that say super team. LeBron, Wade, Bosh, Bibby, and Anthony started 5 finals games. They only played 35 regular season minutes together. The closing lineup of LeBron, Wade, Bosh, Chalmers, and Haslam didn't play in the regular season and played together 14 minutes in the playoffs prior to the finals. Now, what's the point of that? The point that's making is that the Heat had no depth. Okay. Now, before I even finish that, because this is gonna get to the point, right? If you don't believe my words or you don't believe what the actual data says about how many minutes he was playing, right? There's some kind of okay. There is someone that backs up what I'm saying. So let's just look at this real quick.
2011, when you were the Dallas Mavericks, y'all beat LeBron and the Miami Heat. That was his first run of this 7-8 years straight. That was the first time. That's viewed as the low point of his career. And when he kind of was melting down.
Yeah.
So they're up 2-1. When did you first recognize something's wrong with LeBron James? You know what I mean? Like, this is not the LeBron James.
Well, if that was a low point in his career, it was definitely low in mine because we're down 2-1. I hadn't performed the way I thought I should have been performing.
Okay.
He was guarding me. And all I'm hearing at practice is Dirk, because Dirk had no sugarcoat. I mean, if he came in, the bums ain't doing what they got to do.
Really?
That's why we ain't winning. Oh, what?
Oh, Dirk was like that.
Dirk was cold. Now, he would in the media, he kind of stayed away from it, but he would let you know straight up, man, you're not doing it, bro.
And he would say the bums.
The bums, the burgers. It was no filter. And so you're looking like, man, all right. And my locker was always next to his. So, he was on me. It was 2-1. And he knew, like, if we were ever going to win a championship, this was the time to do it. Jet, you ain't showing up. We need you. Right. And then so the media caught wind of it. And they're like, yeah, LeBron is locking you up. You can't get your stuff off. What's going on? I said, well, he can't keep up with me for 7 games.
I remember you said that.
And I'm gonna just let you know, like, honestly, he can't, because I knew physically
So when
his strength was not chasing and running off of screens. And I thought if
so when people talk about LeBron guarding Jason Terry, they always talk about, you know, what Magic said in the finals, but they're not understanding why that was implemented. But we are taking Jason Terry's word, but let me go back.
with me for 7 games.
I remember you said that.
Yeah, so I mean, he was on me. It was 2-1, and he knew, like, if we were ever gonna win a championship, this was the time to do it. Jet, you ain't showing up. We need you.
Right.
And then so the media caught wind of it, and they're like, yeah, LeBron is locking you up. You can't get your stuff off. What's going on? I said, well, he can't keep up with me for 7 games.
I remember you said that.
And I'm gonna just let you know, like, honestly, he can't, because I knew physically his strength was not chasing and running off of screens. And I thought if we did that more and implemented it a little more in our game plan, then he would struggle a little bit. So it probably was game 5. So it was 2-1. We win game 4, but game 5, it was a point in the 4th quarter. They called timeout. We had just went on a run. LeBron had his back to the stanchion. Everybody else had walked to the bench, but he was still out there. And I kind of looked back, and he had his chin in his chest, and he was just doing this, and he was deep breath. And I looked, and I kind of smiled, like, yeah, he's wore out.
Wow.
He didn't have no more left. And it was because we had multiple defenders. We were picking him up full court. We weren't letting him get to his isolation game. We're making him shoot jump shots. If he drove it and he had a clear path, we were wrapping him up.
Yeah.
And, give credit to Deshaun Stevenson, Sean Marion, even Jason Kidd was guarding him. And then we had a zone defense. Dwayne Casey takes a lot of credit.
Yep.
And he's rightfully so, because he deserves it. And LeBron gave him some love.
Yep.
He said, I developed my outside perimeter game because of your defensive strategy in that series. And so that was it. Game 5, I seen it in his eyes.
So to you, it was more of a physical, he just got worn down.
Yeah.
Most people look at it as mentally he wasn't.
Well, physically, yes, but mentally, definitely what I seen in his eyes. Yes, that it was mental at that point. Like,
so he was worn down physically, which affected him mentally. But that came from playing those heavy minutes. It finally caught up with him. And if you listen to what he just said, and I think this is really why, like, LeBron was playing those heavy minutes. But even if you look at the series before the finals, I don't know if they played I think they played the Bulls. So if you look at the Celtics and the Bulls, I think versus the Celtics, Wade was the best player. Versus the Bulls, LeBron was the best player. But I think what ended up happening in the finals was it finally caught up to him, playing those heavy minutes. But also because the Mavs implemented a strategy. Now, they probably didn't, I don't know if they were watching how many minutes he was playing without rest or whatever the case, but they implemented a strategy to tire him out. And I think that's why it finally caught up with him, because he was chasing Jason Terry around screens, and it ended up tiring him out. Now, these ain't my words. These are the words of Jason Terry. The data backs up his words, the amount of minutes he was playing. You know, the heavy minutes he was playing without rest backs it up. But these are not my words. I'm gonna play it again. Before I play it again, I'm gonna just go through how many minutes he was playing. All right. He played 14 of 23 games without rest in the second half. He was required to play those heavy minutes because of Miami Heat's lack of depth. Now, many people might argue LeBron played heavy minutes plenty of times, but not like this. Over half the games he played in the playoffs, he didn't get rest in the second half. And that's the same amount of times he played the entire second half without rest from 2015 to 2018 in the playoffs. In other words, in 2011, he played 14 games without rest in the second half. From 2015 to 18, 3 years worth of playoff games, he played 14 games without rest in the second half. So from 2015 to 2018, he played 14 games without rest in the second half. And he did the same amount in one playoff run, which was 2011. And after 2011, his minutes decreased. And he never played those many minutes without rest ever again, at least in one playoff run. He played 7 45-minute games in his last 10 playoff games, the entire second half, and 14 of 23 playoff games. In his last 15 games, he missed a total of 6 second-half minutes. Jordan played a total of 17 45-minute games. LeBron played 7 in 22 days and played 3 in a row. The first time Jordan played back-to-back 45-minute games, he didn't have a single field goal in the last 22 minutes in 1993 Game 6 versus the Knicks. LeBron's 14 games without rest is the most over the 27 years the data exists. He played 8 of his last 10 games without second-half rest. So I think y'all get the point, but we're gonna go back to what Jason Terry said. So that's the data behind it, and now we just gonna listen to what he said.
Shoot jump shots. If he drove it and he had a clear you, and then so the media caught wind of it, and they're like, "Yeah, LeBron is locking you up. You can't get your stuff off. What's going on?" I said, "Well, he can't keep up with me for 7 games."
I remember you said that.
And I'm just let you know, like, honestly, he can't, because I knew physically his strength was not chasing and running off of screens. And I thought if we did that more and implemented it a little more in our.
Okay, listen to what he said. He said he knew physically LeBron's strength was not chasing guys around screens. Now, this is a game plan to tire him out, to wear him out, plus the minutes that he was playing that I just named. And that's why I said I think it caught up with him in the finals, because they exploited a weakness in LeBron in their game plan. It wasn't just, LeBron just went in there and just didn't show up, and he just played that way on purpose. He didn't want to win. He choked. Poor performance happens in athletes all the time, and a lot of times it's deeper than what the people or the fans see, and most of the fans don't even know basketball. But I'm gonna rewind it, because he said they knew that LeBron's strength wasn't chasing players around screens. I mean, yeah, that wasn't his strength. So they implemented it to tire him out, and it finally caught up with him in the finals, playing those heavy minutes. Then they implemented that strategy with him. The combination of that strategy and him playing those heavy minutes caused him to gas out. But let's keep going.
And I'm just let you know, like, honestly, he can't, because I knew is locking you up. You can't get your stuff off. What's going on? I said, well, he can't keep up with me for 7 games.
I remember you said that.
And I'm just let you know, like, honestly, he can't, because I knew physically his strength was not chasing and running off of screens. And I thought if we did that more and implemented it a little more in our game plan, then he would struggle a little bit. So it probably was game 5. So it was 2-1. We win game 4, but game 5, it was a point in the 4th quarter. They called timeout. We had just went on a run. LeBron had his back to the stanchion. Everybody else had walked to the bench, but he was still out there. And I kind of looked back, and he had his chin in his chest, and he was just doing this, and he was deep breath. And I looked, and I kind of smiled. Like, yeah, he's wore out.
Wow.
He didn't have no more left.
He was wore out. He didn't have no more left. So is Jason Terry lying too? I mean, because the data I explained is you could find it on StatHead. So it's not hard to find. It's on Basketball Reference. But a guy that was actually there in the finals, wow, he actually said the exact same thing that I just said. He wore out. He was gassed.
And it was because we had multiple defenders. We were picking him up full court. We weren't letting him get to his isolation game. We're making him shoot jump shots. If he drove it and he had a clear path, we were wrapping him up.
Yeah.
And give credit to Deshaun Stevenson, Sean Marion, even Jason Kidd was guarding him. And then we had a zone defense. Dwayne Casey takes a lot of credit.
Yep.
And that's for people that say, "Oh, LeBron was guarded by JJ Barea." He wasn't guarded by JJ Barea. Is anyone familiar with what zone defense is? I've asked this to a few people that talk about 2011. Do you even know what zone defense is, what it's used for, how to defeat it? I don't get an answer every time because people don't know basketball. I'm not going to claim that I know everything about it, but I know enough, and I know what zone defense is. But it wasn't man-to-man defense one-on-one.
And he's rightfully so because he deserves it. And LeBron gave him some love.
Yeah.
He said, I developed my outside perimeter game because of your defensive strategy in that series. And so that was it. Game 5, I seen it in his eyes.
So to you, it was more of a physical. He just got worn down.
Yeah.
Most people look at it as mentally he wasn't.
Well, physically, yes, but mentally, definitely what I seen in his eyes. Yes, that it was mental at that point. Like we were up. He had his back to the stanchion. That more and implemented it a little more in our caught wind of it, and they're like, "Yeah, LeBron is locking you up. You can't get your stuff off. What's going on?" I said, "Well, he can't keep up with me for 7 games."
I remember you said that.
And I'm gonna just let you know, like honestly, he can't because I knew physically his strength was not chasing and running off of screens, and I thought if we did that more and implemented it a little more in our game plan, then he would struggle a little bit. So it probably was game 5. So it was 2-1. We win game 4, but game 5, it was a point in the 4th quarter. They called timeout. We had just went on a run. LeBron had his back to the stanchion. Everybody else had walked to the bench, but he was still out there. And I kind of looked back, and he had his chin in his chest, and he was just doing this, and he was deep breath. And I looked, and I kind of smiled like, yeah, he's wore out.
Wow.
He didn't have no more left.
Okay, now I played it 3 times. So you can't say that I'm lying. You can't say that that's not what happened. A guy that was there that knows what the math strategy was said what he saw during the finals and what the strategy caused in LeBron James and why he did not show up. It was physical exhaustion, which led to mental exhaustion. That's why he played the way he played. Now, if you say that I'm lying, then you're saying that the data is lying, and you're saying that Jason Terry is lying. At the end of the day, I just showed that. So, but let's listen to what Mark Cuban says about it.
Right guy who didn't make the right play, and then pass the ball around the perimeter. We had like 6, 7 different.
You didn't have to defend it.
Oh, right.
Hold on, it's messing up real quick with me.
Now, last night, Mike Miller, alleyway is always the same way all the time. Miami played it the same way all the time, and then we can have a discussion about adjustments. Like last year, did we play harder than the Heat?
Okay, hold on. This thing's acting up real quick, so let me. Let me show it now.
We want to start by just finding out what's your. You may have more than one issue, but what's your biggest issue with Skip?
It's not just Skip. It's sports writers, sports media in general, where everything's generalities, right? Excruciating pressure.
It's not
What the hell?
working, man? God damn. I'm gonna need to. Okay. I'm gonna see if it'll work this time.
What's your? You may have more than one issue, but what's your biggest issue with Skip?
It's not just Skip. It's sports writers, sports media in general, where everything's. And you're Derek Fisher, and
Damn, it's not even playing.
you're Russell Westbrook, etc. And you're at that closeout game. There's nobody that wants it more. It's just a question of who executes better. And then you decide why.
Who played harder in the last games? Miami did every game. LeBron played harder than Kevin Durant did 4 straight games.
That is the most ridiculous thing any sports writer has ever said. Now, if you think when Kevin Durant walked off the court, you thought, yeah, I didn't play quite hard.
I don't know why it's skipping. But it's messing up, man. Like, what the fuck? I guess we just gonna have to. I mean, damn. I was trying to show what Mark Cuban said about the 2011 finals. Maybe I could find it into a different video. Okay. I think I found it.
Excruciating pressure. What the hell is that, right? You know,
It was
need leaders.
excruciating pressure. That's what it was.
That meaning what, Skip?
Meaning that you personally watched up close and personal what LeBron went through last year against your Dallas Mavericks. Was it not the biggest collapse of a superstar that we've ever witnessed on a finals or championship stage?
No, I mean, first of all, it's a team game. Right. You guys like to talk in complete generalities where no one can question you, right? You don't ever use facts. You don't ever use substance. You don't ever
use facts.
No.
That's all I use on this show.
What, excruciating pressure, undeniable this, you know, it's just all generalities.
There's never been a star under more pressure going into a finals, a championship series or game than LeBron James was under after 9 years and 3 league MVPs.
Well, first of all, you have the presumption that people care what you say. They don't. That when the guys go out there, when guys go out there, no, I'm talking about media in general. When guys get ready to play and they're in the locker room, they're not thinking, okay, well, what's written, what's going to be written, what's being said, right? I mean, they're getting prepared. And if you've got a good coach and you've got a good culture, then guys are ready to play no matter what. Like you guys were just talking about, you know, Miami wanted it more or less. Like that is just such horse, you know what, right? There's no such thing as it's not that Oklahoma City don't want it more. I think Miami was better prepared to play the game than Oklahoma City in terms of adjustments and changes. Now, if you want to talk about double teams and how they were used, whether or not they should have played zone, what defensive structure was in place, that's a valid conversation. But just saying they wanted it more, that's ridiculous.
Okay.
When you're Kevin Durant and you're Derek Fisher and you're Russell Westbrook, etc., and you're at that closeout game, there's nobody that wants it more. It's just a question of who executes better, and then you decide why.
Who played harder in the last games? Miami did every game. LeBron played harder than Kevin Durant did 4 straight games.
That is the most ridiculous thing any sports writer has ever said. Now, if you think when Kevin Durant walked off the court, you thought, yeah, I didn't play quite hard enough, right? Now, you can say like he wasn't put in a position to succeed. You could say that they didn't run the right plays. They didn't get the ball to him on the block enough. And if you were smart, you'd come out and you'd have substance. You say, you know what? This is how many plays they ran to him on the block. Here's how Miami defended it. Now, you can also argue that the Pat Riley way is always the same way all the time. Miami played it the same way all the time. And then we can have a discussion about adjustments. Like last year, did we play harder than the Heat? Is that what you think it was?
No, I don't. I think LeBron disappeared and shrank in crunch time of the fourth quarter, and I can just show you the numbers of what he didn't do in every
So
fourth quarter.
So we get no credit for not putting him in a position to succeed, right? We played the Heat.
He put himself in. All he did was stand out on the perimeter.
Now, how do you think we defended that? Why do you think he was standing out there?
You didn't have to defend it.
Oh, right. So no matter what we did, he was just going to stand there and do nothing.
Well, that's all I saw. That was a lot
That's
of
exactly right, Chip.
And hope
That's
that
all
Dwayne
you
Wade
saw.
saved the day for him.
You're exactly right. That's all you saw. You didn't look, right? I mean, and that's a complete insult to us to say, you know what, the adjustments that we made.
What did you do to force him out there?
We had like 6-7 different types of matchups in our zone, right? And we played man-to-man, and we had a variety of different switches, right? So we knew that 90% of his shots were going to come from the left-hand side, right? We knew that if you gave him room from the left, he was going to drive. Now, we didn't have the athletes that Oklahoma City did, so we had to plan differently.
Sure.
So we need to make sure that we pushed him out away, and then we gave him different looks every time he had the ball, because just forcing him to make a decision, right? To think about what he had to do, taking the time to read. Are we in a zone? What type of zone we're in? How are we matching up? What type of rotations are we in? Making him think made them pass the ball around the perimeter, which gave us a chance to adjust, right? Now, they're smarter. They're a better team this year. They deserve to win this year. But, that's the way we played it. And so it wasn't just LeBron. LeBron actually played it right more often than not. He made the right pass to the right guy who didn't make the right play. And that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted to get the ball out of their hands and into the hands of somebody else. We wanted him to play Michael Jordan and make somebody play Steve Kerr. Now, last night, Mike Miller.
They had several Steve Kerrs.
They had everybody stepping up, and they deserved every bit. But
Okay,
you're talking generalities, and just
No,
to
I'm
say
not.
you are.
Okay, you spewed out some generality about
I'll
the
show you.
players don't care. Okay, let me tell you that for a fact, and Stephen A. can validate this, LeBron James listened to what I said for about, 8 years? Because that's all I heard. He said I was his Howard Cosell. And this year, for the first time, to his credit, he tuned out all the noise. That's all we saw in the finals was he's reading the Hunger Games trilogy before the games. He's meditating on the bench before the games. He tuned us out.
This is a Skip Bayless special. LeBron lost last year because he wasn't paying attention to Skip Bayless. LeBron won
that's
this
not
year
true.
because he wasn't. That's what you just said.
Okay.
Did he not just say that?
Okay, here's what he didn't do. Here's what he didn't do against you guys.
Okay.
He let you off the hook because he didn't do what we saw him do for 4 straight games. He didn't drive through your zone and slash it up and dish. He didn't post up at all. This was a new deal. This was a new post-up game that we saw this year from LeBron. He shredded the Oklahoma City defense because he drove and he dished.
Okay.
He did not
what kind
drive.
of defense? When he was
wanted to be
driving,
a pretty jump shooter against you guys, and it played right into your hands because he's a below-average jump shooter from the perimeter.
Okay, Skip. So when he was on the post, what were the different defensive schemes that Oklahoma City ran last night?
They used Cephalosha on him. They used Durant on him.
When he was in the post, what were the different defensive schemes that they used?
Ibaka was supposed to come hard
He was
and keep him
supposed to
from
come
the
hard,
and
right?
he did not come hard. He let LeBron get to the rim repeatedly, and Perkins was nowhere
I
to
just
be
asked
seen.
a simple question.
Yeah, I just told you.
No, you
I
said
gave you a
so and so
simple
was
answer.
supposed to. No, they doubled from down, right? And they doubled and they passed and they hit their open shots, right? When they kept on doubling, they changed, right? Because they passed it out. Mike Miller hit open shot, but that's just one
Did
example.
he
Then
get
what
in
did
the
they do
lane
after
against
that?
you guys last year? Not at all in the fourth quarter.
Why do you play a zone, Skip?
Well, again, I've seen him slash up any kind of defense when he feels like it.
Skip, one
He's
of the
a
things
freight
about-
train. You just said you not at all in the fourth quarter.
Why do you play a right? When they kept on doubling, they changed, right? Because they passed it out. Mike Miller hit open shot, but that's just one
Did
example.
he
Then
get
what
in the
did they do
lane
after
against
that?
you guys last year? Not at all in the fourth quarter.
Why do you play a zone, Skip?
Well,
Dude don't even know why he plays zone defense. I think y'all get the point. The point is, it wasn't just, it was the defensive schemes, and it was LeBron gassing out. Now, now these ain't my words. These are the words of guys that were actually in that finals, on that Mavs team, that came up with the game plan to execute against LeBron and the Heat. And then the data backs up that he got worn out. And Jason Terry's words backs up that he got worn out. But people are more interested in saying LeBron choked and LeBron, I mean, I'm not going to say he played well. He didn't show up, right? But that's like one series out of the dozens that he's played. Like, when we judging him off of one final series, even if, let's just say that all this stuff that I showed, the data from the actual minutes that he played without rest, and the words of Jason Terry, and the words of Mark Cuban, let's just say that we are all lying. That's not enough. Let's just say that that's what it is. You're lying about it. And LeBron choked at finals, right? Would that be enough to outweigh his entire resume? Well, let's see what Dirk has to say.
I know the game today is maybe a little bit beside the point, but with one of your old rivals, LeBron James, on the court today, what kind of context does that bring to this day, and what memories does it bring back, and what do you think when you see him kind of still going at this level?
Yeah, I mean, tremendous that he can still play like this in his year 20. The athleticism is incredible. So I'm happy for him. I always say Michael Jordan is the GOAT. If he really surpasses Kareem in the scoring record, I mean, it's I'm sort of running out of arguments for Michael. I mean,
He said he kind of running out of arguments for Jordan. And he saw the 2011 finals live in living color. Let's look at what Jason Kidd has to say.
The all-time leading scorer next year. Does that make him the greatest player of all time, or is that still Michael Jordan?
That's a good question, and that's the barbershop question. I think LeBron will go down as the greatest to do it. When you look at what his numbers, what he's done on and off the floor, no one's done that. So he'll go. I mean, when you gotta put the whole package together, he's the greatest of all time.
What did he just say? You put the whole package together, not one finals, not one series. You put the whole package together. He's the greatest of all time. Now let's get Jason Terry's opinion on it. Real quick. I'm going to end this soon, but
I'm a Jordan guy. Look at the shoes.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
a Jordan guy. I'm a Jordan guy. No doubt about it. There's something to be said about getting to the NBA Finals and never losing.
Yes.
yeah, but that's a team thing. But I'm gonna let him get his piece off.
He's never lost, regardless of
He played 15 years, but he never lost.
who's been on his team or what we can say, who he played against and all that. He's gotten there. He's won. He hasn't lost. LeBron's record in finals, he's under 500.
Yep.
I mean, so are we just giving out trophies for just getting there?
He been to more finals and he played way better competition.
Last
I'm
time I
with you,
checked,
yeah.
no.
Yep.
They won't say Karl Malone's the greatest power forward. Why? Because he's
Because he ain't got no chips. Bron got 4.
never won a championship.
That's right.
Charles Barkley, same thing.
Yeah.
So we can't give a guy the greatest of all time. Now he's great. I mean, he's top 3 in my book. for
I got him
sure.
number 2.
Yeah, for sure. Especially after this season. You gotta put him up.
Most
Okay. Now you heard what he said. He's top 3, top 2.
players, and I know you're not an ex-player, but most and there a lot of them your age or a little younger. They seem to put Kobe ahead of LeBron.
Doesn't get enough respect, if you ask me. And because I've played in both eras right now, and I matched up against Kobe. It's funny, man. I'm watching a VHS tape in my office the other day. I had 36 on Kobe. It was beautiful.
Did you?
I was wearing it out.
And he was guarding.
They was in Atlanta. It was one of them road trips, probably a back-to-back.
And I know you're not an ex-player.
They won't say Karl Malone's the greatest power forward. Why? Because he's never won a championship.
That's right.
Charles Barkley, same thing.
Yeah.
So we can't give a guy the greatest of all time. Now he's great. I mean, he's top 3 in my book.
Yeah, I got him
sure.
number 2.
Yeah, for sure. Especially after this season. You gotta put him up there.
Now the point I'm making is, those 3 guys, they saw the finals, they saw what happened, and they still saying LeBron's in that conversation, right? He either is the GOAT or he's in that conversation. And that's fair, Guess what I'm saying? Okay. Okay. I pretty much showed everything. There's one last thing I gotta show, and that's when Jordan was playing these kind of same minutes, right? How was he performing? What was he doing? Okay. And now mind you, he wasn't playing nowhere near in that one playoff run. LeBron played, 7 45-minute games just in one playoff run. But let's just look at how Jordan was performing real quick when he was tasked with performing with heavy minutes, right? Okay. So first, LeBron played 45 minutes in June 22 times. It includes these famous finals games: 2007 Game 3, 2011 Games 3, 4, and 5, which is 3 and 5 days, 2015 Games 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6, 5 and 13 days, 2016 Game 7, 2017 Games 3 and 5, 2018 Game 1. First of all, Jordan only played 11 games for 45 minutes in June. He didn't play the same minutes as often, and he never did it more than twice in a series. Only twice back to back. He never did it more than twice in the series, and he only did it twice back to back. Okay. Now this is what y'all see on the screen. He had 0 field goals in the last 6 minutes. 0 field goals for 6 minutes in the fourth. He had only 2 of 11 previous attempts. A 52-minute night, the final rest coming 4 minutes and 17 left until 2:54. I was still tired, Jordan said. Michael Jordan get run down? Where does it say that in the script? Now, he's allowed to be tired, but LeBron's not. If you look at the next one, the Bulls won, but Jordan only scored 2 in the final 5 minutes. Paxson did all the clutch scoring, which in LeBron terms, it pretty much means that Paxson saved Jordan. That's pretty much what that means. Let's keep going. Okay. Jordan admitted the team's momentum was lost. This is game 2 in the 1992 finals. They lost in overtime. Jordan admitted the team's momentum was lost after his technical foul at the end of regulation. The team's momentum was lost after his tactical foul at the end of regulation. 2 personal fouls, a technical, a missed shot, and free throws all added to his woes. A technical foul called with 4:25 left in regulation by referee Jess Kersey after Jordan protested a hand-checking foul. Kersey called on Jordan against Terry Porter. Okay. Okay, Jordan scored as many points as he did in the Chicago Bulls Game 1 victory, but he deserved a big chunk of the blame for Friday night's 115-104 overtime loss to the Trailblazers, which knotted the best of 7 NBA Finals at 1 game apiece. Mr. Clutch missed a free throw with 2 minutes and 43 seconds remaining in the regulation, and the Bulls, leading 95-89, missed a potential winning jumper at the regulation buzzer and claimed another free throw in overtime. Mr. Downtown missed all 4 of his tries from three-point range, including an air ball late in regulation and 1 in overtime. He had surprised everybody, including himself, by going 6 for 10 on three-pointers in Game 1. I just came back to reality. And Mr. Cool drew a technical foul from referee Jess Kersey with 4:25 to play in regulation, and Chicago up 92-82. They had a 10-point lead. I didn't curse at him, but I cursed at the play, Jordan said. I should have known better. So it's 1992 Game 2. He was, he lost a 10-point lead with a 4-point play. He missed free throws, field goals, and he was fouling guys. And he scored 3 points in overtime. But let's keep going. Hold on. This is the same series. Game 2, you might as well have said he ran out of gas. Jordan played 50 minutes and took only 2 shots in overtime, merely asking, why did Jackson play Jordan for half of the meaningless fourth quarter in Game 1? Okay, this one's a little hard to read. Jordan had he scored 17 in a row versus the Knicks in Game 5. Over 14 minutes in the second half. But he had no points in the last 3 minutes. LeBron gets criticized for 0 points in the last 4 minutes in Game 7 of 2016. So this is bad, right? And then he passed at the end because his team said he was too tired, which I knew Michael was worn down a little bit, and he told me to stay ready, Armstrong said. He turned and gave it to me, and I just happened to shoot it in. Bulls coach Phil Jackson said he reminded Jordan late in the game to not try to carry the whole load. Okay. Let's keep going. In Game 6, 1993 versus the Knicks. In Game 6, while Michael Jordan was shooting 8 for 24 with no fourth quarter field goals, he had no fourth quarter field goals. Pippen drove a stake through the Knicks' heart. Pippen saved the Bulls from being knocked out while the troubled Jordan was being quite unlike Mike. I thought Jordan was exhausted, said Phil Jackson. Pippen stepped up big. He had a terrific series after being labeled a pussyfooter, which I don't even know what that means. A guy who couldn't take a beating. Okay. After scoring, this is Pippen, after scoring 16 of his 24 points in the second half of Game 6, 7 points, including a three-pointer to beat the shot clock in the desperate final 5 minutes, and after completing a series in which he scored 22 points per game on 51% shooting, Pippen pretended he had nothing to prove. But the point is, Jordan shot 8 for 24 and had no field goals in the fourth quarter. And this is in Game 6. Okay. The Knicks didn't go gladly or easily, but they did. But go they did. Michael Jordan didn't make a shot in the last 24 minutes and 59 seconds. The great God, Michael Jordan. Wow, how could I thought he made every shot, every minute. He never missed a shot. He never turned the ball over. But he didn't make a shot in the last 24 minutes and 59 seconds. Okay. So this is his first back-to-back 45-minute game in June. He didn't make a shot in the last 24 minutes and 59 seconds. Now imagine playing 3 in a row and 8 of your last 10 games is 45 minutes. You know, and they're talking about how tired Jordan is, but he ain't playing near the minutes LeBron is playing in one playoff run. Michael Jordan actually appeared mortal, or at least a little winded. His airness failed to record a field goal in the final 22 minutes. Pippen, long hidden behind Jordan's enormous shadow, scored 16 of his 24 points in the second half and broke New York's heart in the fourth quarter as the Bulls went on to defeat New York 96-88 and advance to the NBA Finals for the third consecutive year. But once again, his airness failed to record a field goal in the last 22 minutes. This is his first back-to-back 45-minute game in June, and that's what happened. LeBron had 3 in a row in 2011, and 5 out of 6 games in 2015. Again, with the last 22 minutes of the game without a basket, he scored just 4 points, all on free throws in the final quarter. His teammate, Scottie Pippen, it has to be said, was more Jordan-esque this night than Jordan. Michael looked like he was exhausted, Bulls coach Phil Jackson said. And I couldn't find enough time to rest him. His offense wasn't there and left us with a lot to make up. Michael Jordan was only 1 of 10 in the fourth quarter Sunday for just 3 points in Game 3 of the NBA Finals at the stadium and struggled through the collective periods, going 6 for 20 from the fourth quarter on. Okay, now this is 1993 in the finals. Played 57 minutes. But I was getting good looks at the basket, Jordan said. I just didn't have the energy. He ended up taking 43 shots. But he was 1 for 10 in the fourth quarter, 6 for 20 from the fourth through 3 overtimes. Went from 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter to 1 minute left in the first overtime without scoring. So he went 8 minutes without scoring. He lost the ball with 12 seconds to go and missed a free throw up 3 in the second overtime. Jordan's bank shot off the glass with 4 minutes left in the fourth was his only basket of the quarter. He didn't make another for almost 8 minutes until his jumper in the lane at the 105 mark of the first overtime session ended the drought. By that point, the tank was empty and Jordan and Scottie Pippen were running on fumes. I think it was very evident that we were tired, said Jordan. They seemed to be fresher in overtime than we were. We just didn't have the energy, said Coach Phil Jackson. It's almost as if elite athletes get tired and it affects their performance. So if a guy is playing all those minutes without rest in the second half, and it's the most for, any player for the data that exists that we have, and he's not getting any rest. In his last 15 games, he had 6 minutes of rest. But they're, you know, but like I said, it's almost as if elite athletes get tired and it affects their performance. I mean, are Jordan and Phil Jackson lying that getting tired affects your performance? Okay. And when the legs go, Jordan's jumper is soon to follow. I didn't have the legs, dead legs. I didn't have the legs that I wanted to have. Jordan said everything was short. I knocked a few in, but they were hard earned. When you get tired, you get error prone, Jordan said. He missed a jumper in the lane with 27 seconds left in the first overtime. When the Bulls were trying to pull ahead again, Jordan missed one of two free throws. When you get tired, you get error prone. This is in the 1993 finals. Okay. We can't depend on Michael because he runs out of gas and we just can't give him the ball a majority of the time, said Horace Grant. This despite Jordan shooting just 1 of 10 from the field in the fourth period and 1 of 4 in the first overtime. Okay. Now, this is in 1997. Hold on 1 second. Some thought it was a bit. This is him stat padding in the 1997 finals. Bulls left Michael Jordan in for their entire fourth quarter of Game 2, despite Chicago holding a 21-point lead with 5 minutes and 36 seconds left. It appeared as though the Bulls were trying to get Jordan his first career triple-double in the finals. In other words, they were flirting with artificially padding his stats. Pippen missed 3 shots in the fourth quarter Wednesday that could have given Michael Jordan his first triple-double in the NBA Finals. Now, this is the same series. I don't know. This is the next series. 1998 Game 1 overtime loss. Jordan scored 8 points in the last 20 minutes of play, going 3 for 9. He missed 2 of his last 4 free throw attempts. Missed a 14-foot shot with 25 seconds left. He held the ball through a 24-second violation in overtime and passed the ball to Longley on the last play. I thought he never passed, though. Jordan misses a 2-point layup. Jordan misses free throw 1 of 2. Jordan misses 2-point jump shot from 14 feet. Jordan misses 2-point jump shot from 20 feet. Jordan misses 2-point jump shot from 14 feet. Jordan misses free throw 2 of 2. Jordan misses 2-point layup. Michael Jordan holding onto the ball as his 24-second clock expires. Michael Jordan calling a timeout after his nose has been bloody. Not the images Bulls fans have grown accustomed to. Okay, same series. He looked fine in the first half, but he did get a little tired in the second half. Jordan, who scored 33 points, was called for the shot clock violation with 1:18 left and the Bulls trailing 84-82. It was a mental lapse. Now, I already went over that. This is about time I end this live, but he missed the last second 3-pointer that would have won the NBA championship Friday night. This was versus the Jazz in 1998. So, pretty much, okay, these are the stats. 1 for 7, 1 for 10, 0 for 1. No field goals in the final 22 minutes. No points in the final 3 minutes. 3 for the last 12, 3 for the last 9, 2 points in the final 5 minutes. Technical foul that leads to a blown 10-point lead with 4 minutes left. Okay. The point is, when you play heavy minutes, you wear out, and it affects your performance. And that's what happened to LeBron in 2011. That's it. Now, did he play well? No. He didn't play well. But his entire career is not defined by the fact that he did not play well. That's the truth. His entire career, to be the GOAT, you have to have the resume to be the GOAT. You aren't the GOAT because you played one game or one series. One series alone. It has to be your entire resume that we judge you off of. We don't judge Jordan just off of his failures. I mean, most people pretend they don't exist. But LeBron's resume is overwhelming. So what Jordan fans do is compare his failures to Jordan's successes and pretend Jordan had none. But the point is, one final series where LeBron admittedly did not show up, and I just showed why, because he was gassed out. That does not define his entire career. That doesn't define him being in the discussion. It doesn't define him being the GOAT. That's just the truth. And then you saw in all of these articles and what Jordan and Phil Jackson was saying, they were tired. He was tired, all these different stuff. So it's clear that being tired affects your performance. That's just what it is. Now that, okay. So we got all that out the way. LeBron didn't show up in 2011 because he was playing crazy minutes. I showed it, showed the data, showed what people that were actually in the finals were saying. And that's what happened. Now, does that define his career as far as why he performed that way? His entire 22 years he's been in the NBA, it doesn't. But I'm going to end this live now, and I'm going to do another live. I got a few videos I'm uploading today.